Hi everyone, it's John from What Up. Welcome back to another video, and today we're reviewing the latest episode of the third season of The Wheel of Time, The Shadow in the Night. Let me tell you folks, it's another banger. This season is not missing. They're not missing at all with a single episode. So if you love The Wheel of Time, if you're as excited about the third season as I am, or if you just want to keep up with the news, and yes, I know you folks are speculating up there when I talk about this, but there's a ton of news coming in the next couple of months. Consider making us your home for Wheel of Time news. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and of course tell all your friends. So just a couple of reminders about my reviews. I always say this: first half will be spoiler free, then we'll throw up our little handy dandy red hand of spoiler doom. He'll tell us exactly how far in the books we're going to spoil. That'll be about maybe a third of the way through this video, and then the rest will be all spoilers. But if you haven't read the books or seen the show, first part of the review is absolutely spoiler free. And again, I don't add points to the score based on getting things completely correct from the books, and I don't take away points for changes from the books. I never do any of my reviews. I review the show on its own merits as a standalone show, kind of ignoring the books exist. That being said, this episode, absolute banger, folks. Don't miss it. If you haven't already seen it, which I know some people wait to see the spoiler-free portion of my reviews before they watch the episode. I actually had a few messages from people saying they do that. Yeah, you're not going to want to miss this one, folks. It's wild how good it is. It really is a good episode. It had the perfect balance. So this episode had pretty much everything that you can expect or want from a Wheel of Time show. Great acting. The acting between the characters in this episode was so spot on. The chemistry between some of the relationships and some of the friendships is wild. I don't know how you can fake that. I don't know how you can act that way. These people are either that good or they have relationships off screen that are just as strong. It's wild seeing these folks together on screen, and I really enjoyed every moment of this season. The last couple of seasons, you're talking characters kind of went out their own way, and they weren't really connecting or latching together as much as they should. This season, that's corrected completely, 100%. The editing in this episode is so tight, folks. I'm telling you right now, if you haven't already watched it, don't get up to pee. Don't go get popcorn or snacks. Don't get a drink unless you pause the episode first, because if you do, you're going to miss vital things. This episode is jam-packed from start to finish with things that are very important for the lore building, things that are important for world building, character building. There is a ton of exposition dumps in this episode that are handled so beautifully that they don't feel out of place. And that is something a lot of shows and movies struggle with. If they're doing an exposition dump that is critical to the plot line or to the lore of a character, sometimes it's janky. It feels added on. It feels like it doesn't fit. That is not the case here. Everything fits really well. The episode flows well too. The editing is so tight, like I said, you can't miss a second. Watch this a couple of times. You're going to see new things each time. There's so much packed into this episode. Costuming, sets, again, top notch, bar to none. I can't say enough good things about the costuming. Can't say enough good things about the sets. But the characters. This episode really lets a couple of characters come into their own, folks, and they are going to become memes. You're going to see this everywhere. Non-Wheel of Time folks will be talking about these characters forever. I don't know what to say. We'll talk about this more in the spoiler section, but there's a couple of characters that really come into their own this episode, and it's wild to see. In line with that, some of the relationships that are incredibly important finally blossom. They really do, and the chemistry between them is insane. I don't know what to say. So all in all, this episode was pretty near perfect. It had the perfect mix of exposition, lore building, world building, character building, relationship building, drama that I love, mixed with some very emotionally charged scenes that are some real high highs, some real low lows. There was a couple of times that I actually cracked a laugh so loud, and it startled me because I didn't expect to. There's a couple of times in this episode I laughed out loud and scared myself because I wasn't expecting to. All of that coupled with some stuff people are going to be talking about for forever. They really will be. Just makes this episode feel pretty near perfect. Have you ever been outside before a storm? I don't know about most of the world, but here in the east coast of Canada, we deal with hurricanes. It's hurricane season pretty much half the year or more. And before a hurricane hits here, if you go outside and you stop and you listen, the world is quiet. it's still. There were parts of this episode that feels like they were trying to do that, because the last two episodes, you're going to get the big reveals, the big things that happen. But they couldn't quite get the calm because they were still adding some wild stuff into it for us. So if they showed us this in episode 6, we've seen some of the things we've seen in this episode now. What are we seeing for 7 and 8? Folks, like, yeah, this was the calm before the storm, but think of this as a Cat 1 hurricane before Cat 5. Like, it's wild. It's such a good episode. 9.5 points out of 10. That's what I'm rating this one. Another very high score of the season. I haven't given a low score yet. Like, I think the lowest score I gave the entire season was 8.5. And when I did my spoiler-free review for the entire season, I said that the entire season got a 9. And I'm not joking, folks. This is perfect fantasy TV as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, 9.5, folks. So if you haven't already seen it, run now. Go see it. Go watch it. And just a reminder, please don't pirate the episodes. If you want to support the Wheel of Time, if you want more Wheel of Time, especially how good the season is, make sure you actually watch it the right way. That way the actors, the production team, the crew, the people who worked on the show, they put their hard work, dedication, sweat into this. They get recognized for it. I'm not going to lie to you. Giant companies' bottom lines are not my concern. But the actual people who work on the show, who get jobs from this, I mean, if you're a person who works, worker solidarity, folks, like you have to think of it that way. But yeah, go watch the episode right now. All right, we're going to get into some spoilers now. So we have our handy dandy spoiler hand up here now. We're talking spoilers up to Book 5 of The Wheel of Time, from The Eye of the World to The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan, and spoilers, obviously, for Episode 6 of the 3rd season, because that's what we're talking about, folks. So we're going to walk through, like, there's 3 main plot lines that are happening in this episode, and they're all wild. Let's start with Tenchico. There's some big things happening here, folks. And a reminder, I didn't give extra points to the review, 9.5, because there's some stuff from the books in here that I really loved. But I will say, there was some stuff from the books in here I really loved. Tom's back. Tom's back, folks. We knew he was coming back. We knew he was coming back this episode. I mentioned it last week. He was in the credits. We knew for a while. Man, what an entrance. I missed Tom Maryland. I really did. And he just adds another extra special dynamic to the Min, Matt, Nynaeve, Elaine group. Having him there just makes things better. It really does. And that hat. Oh, Tom, I love your hat. I want one. And we can't talk about Tom without talking about Elaine. Kira Coveney singing. That was her voice, folks. She was the one who sang that. And I will say that I had that song ages ago. And I knew when it came out, it was going to be a smash hit with the fandom. It's wild. In the book series, Elaine loves raunchy things. She just does. She likes raunchy songs. She's interested in that stuff. She was brought up a little sheltered. Seeing her standing on a table, singing The Hills of Tenchico with Tom. And I'm not going to lie to you, I probably rewound, and I age myself saying rewound. I probably played that back quite a few times in a row. Much to my family's like eye rolling, I was like, we gotta watch this again, it was so good. We gotta watch this again, it was so good. Yeah, no, what a wild scene. Super loved it. The Lord Humps, Leandrin's backstory. Wild. I love that. I know there are people out there that say they shouldn't add things into the show. You can't add extra stuff in. That means you have to cut other things out. Folks, adding things in makes it the Wheel of Time show. It really does. Without Leandrin's backstory, without all the extra effort and time they put into that character, she would have been the character from the books, which, no shade to the books, was not great. The bad guys in the books were very two-dimensional. They were bad because they were bad. There wasn't a whole lot of thought and effort put behind them until much later in the series, especially Leandrin's character. This character, bar none, seeing her backstory, seeing her motivations, I felt so bad for her. Folks, like, oh, wow, how can you not feel something inside seeing this on screen? Moghedian. Creepy as shit. Oh my god. Layla Costa, give this person an award. Oh my god. Spitting in food, sniffing panties like Master Roshi. Wow. Like, just wild. You are creeped out by her. She's on screen even in the background, even as a servant, even just kind of milling about and not really, that she's creepy, creepy, creepy. Just a perfect antagonist. I loved it. And using that compulsion at the end on Elaine and Nynaeve. Come on. Oh, what a great scene. The way the two girls played that, I don't know what to say. Like, I believed every second of it. Even the slightly furrowed brows, because they were fighting it because they have very strong personalities. Everything was just perfect. Loved it. The waste. You had a lot of great slow down lore dumps here too. You had the Aiel culture. You had dreamwalking training with Egwene. The only thing I think it was missing was an 80s movie montage where, like, the Rocky music, where they're training and learning things. That would have been cool to me. Probably not to most of the world, but to me it would have been cool. That little girl. Oh my goodness. That scene happened in the book series in a slightly different way. It happened in Stone and Tear, but the emotion, the raw emotion, the anger, the madness coming out of Rand, the sadness at the same time, trying to bring that little girl back to life that we had formed a relationship with over a couple of episodes. And it was a good relationship too. For the very brief moments she was on screen, she loved Rand al'Thor. She did. And Rand loved her. And oh my gosh, having him try to bring her back like that was wild to watch. And I can't help but think, a fitting entry / exit for Samael. The man is overconfident to the extremes. He just thinks he can bulldoze everybody. He shows up. I'm gonna get you. Rand just deletes him. Such a good scene. Oh, I don't know what to say, folks, other than the fact that Samael so far is my second favorite Forsaken of the show. Malkavian is my first. I love them to pieces. And seeing them both in this episode, just out and about in the wild like this, wild. And then we're back to the Two Rivers. There's a couple things I want to talk about the Two Rivers. I think the pacing there was great. I think the way they're telling the story in the Two Rivers is great. I love Alana and Maxim's storyline and part in this. I super do. It adds so much depth to the Two Rivers storyline that I didn't know we needed. And it's wild seeing it on screen and how it came together. I super loved it. I think both Priyanka Bose and Taylor Napier, extraordinary actor and actresses. Just absolutely great, and they add so much to this episode. Perrin and Faile. Kissy face Perrin and Faile. Oh my god. Second favorite character in the book series is Faile. First favorite relationship in the book series is Perrin and Faile. I love them. I love them to pieces. They're real. They're not perfect. They're cantankerous with each other. They get along. They have very, very deep love and loyalty for each other. And we're starting to see the seeds of this relationship. It started to blossom this episode. The first kiss. We get to see the first kiss, folks. Come on. That's wild. I love that. And then, of course, what would I be if I didn't mention Padan Thane? He's back, folks. He's back. That crappy, dirty, gross white cloak costume he's wearing, Padan Thane's back. Didn't know how much I missed him until he came back on screen. Such a good episode. Just absolutely wild. Again, 9.5. Loved every bit of it. If you haven't seen it already, go run. Go run to see it now. Like, watch it on your phone if you're at work. It doesn't matter. You have to. It's so good. Yeah, wild episode, folks. You need to go see it right now. Little bit of a aside here. We're at the end of the review, so if that's all you're here for, review's done. We're going to talk about some of the videos coming up next. So I have an interview with Tom Snapper I have to release, an interview with Kay Alexander I have to release. I have interviews upcoming with Marcus Rutherford, Isabella Bukhari, so that's Perrin and Faile. That's happening next week. If you have questions you want me to ask them, put them down below in the comments, but put in big capital letters, question, at the beginning of it. Makes it easier for my old eyes to see that. And then I have an interview with Priyanka Bose and Taylor Napier as well, upcoming next week. So questions for them, put them down below too. I may not, let me be honest with you folks, I might pick one question for each person, because 4 or 5 minutes is all we get with these actors when we do get to sit down with them. But if you have things you want me to ask them, put them down there, and I will do my level best to pick the best out of all the questions and ask them, because you folks are the ones watching this. You know what you want to ask. And then, of course, Easter egg video, breakdown video, they're coming for this episode. I'm also setting up a couple of other Wheel of Time creators out there, or Wheel of Time adjacent creators that are talking about the show right now to come on the channel. So there's going to be lots of what up in the next couple of weeks. You're not going to miss any minute of it, folks, so make sure you're already subscribed. Thank you so much for sticking with us here to the very end. Here's to many more.